Okay. And although the topic is perhaps to some extent a little bit touchy, because as I heard and was informed in the past weeks, apparently in particular younger lawyers in this country have difficulties not only to agree with their client on appropriate fees, but also to collect them at the end or at the beginning or wherever. This is, of course, a certain market issue, but it's also a certain mindset issue, a presentation in society. There are various issues to be touched in this regard, and I will try to do that to a certain extent. But before that, I would like to bore you a little bit with statistics, although I didn't falsify them myself. But I think they are quite interesting, and this is when you compare a country like Germany to Greece on the legal society. Greece is, as I researched, has about practically almost 11 million inhabitants, but 40,000 lawyers. Half of these lawyers apparently practicing here in the city, and the rest distributed in the country. When you look into Germany, we have about 80,000 inhabitants, a little bit less, but more or less 80 million. And we have about 150,000 lawyers, but the number of lawyers is going down and not increasing anymore as it did the last 20 or 30 years, for certain reasons, but that we can leave aside. Now, already us feel that Germany is over-lawyered. But compared to Greek figures, I mean, this is a kindergarten, what we do in Germany. It's easy going, because if you count, you have about 5,000 lawyers per, I don't know, a couple of hundred people, and 1,000 people, and we have half of it, yeah. So that is a point which you definitely won't be able to change. That's what it is. Yeah, you have to live with that. And then, of course, one also has to consider that technical developments, which we already have starting in Germany, will change the market situation even to the worse, because you will, perhaps not yet, but you will get that sooner or later, technical artificial intelligence, which will substitute a large number of members of our profession, in particular those which are providing that what we call in American slang commodity services. Now, my favorite example is our technical legal platform, which is called FlightRight, but we have different like that. They provide the to their purchasers, they provide the opportunity to claim their indemnification amounts from the various air companies when flights are late, when they are canceled, etc. And this works extremely well. I think they have a success percentage of 90% at prices which, at least in Germany, no lawyer would ever be able to provide for. And we can expect that we get that kind of services also in everything which is rental issues, in labor law issues, in construction issues, wherever it's a commodity, repetitive issue where the legal question is not very important or not very difficult. Yeah. You can be substituted easily, and one should keep that in mind. However, there are a lot of new market chances, what one has to know as well, and I will come back to that. Now, having these statistics in mind, I mean, you know, most of you know the German system of statutory fees, which is not, I mean, it sounds like paradise, but it's very much criticized as well. Lawyers love to complain, like business people as well. We find they are too low, and we are asking that they are increased, and that has just been refused. But in principle, the system which you have is to a certain extent copied from the German system, although we do not have minimum fees. We have statutory fees which apply on whatever kind of legal service you provide, be that litigation, be that contract advice, be that representation in criminal cases. You have that statutory system, which makes your life easy, in particular when you have high values to defend or to claim. Of course, if it's small values, it's very difficult because you will never ever be able to live on that. Yeah. So we lived for very many years on a kind of mixed calculation, and that worked quite well, and it still does, but we are now in the situation that court fees increase and increase and increase to an extremely high amount, even higher than legal fees under statutory law. And the legal fees for lawyers do not increase in the same way. The problem is when you increase that to a certain extent, you will have the question, will the normal client have access to representation and access to the justice? And this is a very difficult balance to find. And when I'm speaking for the German Bar Association, where we at the moment are negotiating with the government that at least in 1 or 2 years we will get a rescheduling of our fee system in this regard, it's politically very difficult, and for sure it's not easy to find a balanced system when increasing legal fees. Now, that is statutory fees. Of course, client and lawyer can deviate from that at any time and agree on, let's say, hourly rates. That won't work in litigation matters because there the law says that you are not allowed to take less than statutory fees. Now, in huge cases, I can admit that easily. A lot of law firms, a lot of lawyers, nevertheless accept lower hourly rates, because if you have a case of 1 billion, the fees would be extraordinarily high, and there is no ceiling for that, and no client will accept that. Yeah. Different again in arbitration, where you have separate fees which are negotiated from the various organizations. Now, what you have, and I think this is different from us, is that you have a fixed hourly rate if nothing was agreed and it's not a litigation matter. Looking at the, if I'm right, it's the 80 euro per hour as a principle, in my opinion, this is, for an average amount, it's not too bad. It's definitely not too bad. If nothing else is agreed. Pardon me? Yeah, that's the next point, and come to that one. But I mean, this is, as a statutory basis, I find this rather fabulous, and a lot of German lawyers would be happy if we would have that. Yeah. And then the third point, which I find advantageous in your system, is your contingency fee, which you are quite easily allowed to agree with your client. As I read and as I was informed, it's about maximum 20%, but that is not too bad as well. That means, of course, that you must be sure that the case is good, that you will win it. Yeah. And I don't know whether it applies on contractual negotiations. If you have a transaction, whether you are allowed to take 20% of a transaction. Frankly, if I would have been allowed to do that, I wouldn't work since 20 years anymore. I would sit somewhere in the Caribbean. Yeah. Well, we are not allowed to do that. So, and no client would pay it, frankly. Yeah, no client would be willing to pay that. Yeah. Now, having said all that, our system gives, to a certain extent, a certain security to the lawyer, and people know when they go to the lawyer it is statutory fees. And they will pay, because you go to the lawyer, you know you have to pay. And this is a matter of mindset, which has certainly changed in the last 20, 30 years, because we had, I remember that, not necessarily when I started, but the partners which were my partners which trained me as a young lawyer told me the same, that the mentality was very comparable to what you encounter with your clients over here, that people come to the law office and that they think they will get services for practically nothing, or not very much, or that they won't pay it at the end. And this is an issue of mindset, which you have also to change, but what you also have to teach, and this is a bar question, a request to the bar, you have also to teach your young lawyers how to present with potential clients and how to make clear to them, how to present themselves. It starts with body language, but also how do I sell my product? Because it is a product what we sell, although we don't like to say that because we don't want to be compared to business people. But at the end, we sell a product, just nobody can see it. It's advice. So that is a matter of what you can train, what you can learn, and this is bar, in my opinion, bars which should do that with their lawyers. And a good example, in my opinion, is the Canadian bar. When you go on their website, you can see training courses via internet, where you can buy different modules, and then you can participate in that training, and then you get information how to speak with your client, how discuss fees, etc. You stop me when my 15 minutes is over.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
3 more minutes.
So I will stop there after my 3 ones, yeah, which are left to me. So that is something which I would say it's definitely something what bars should give to their members, in particular to their young members, to develop such kind of training. That kind of mindset is starting with the lawyers. What I heard yesterday from one of your colleagues here is that the acquisition of clients is a lot amongst family and friends, and they expect that they wouldn't pay very much. And I think this is a mindset which you have to accept, that also family and friends has to pay their fees. If your electrician is coming, he will ask, I don't know what they are asking in Athens, in Germany, he will ask 60 euros just for coming. He hasn't done nothing. Yeah. And then if he does something, he asks on top of it, of course, yeah. Plus the material, plus. So that is a mindset which people have to learn, and this is, in my opinion, the bar which has to give such kind of education, or at least the possibility to educate. Now I have numerous other issues and recommendations which I would like to touch, but it's my turn, it's finished for now. So next turn.